Welcome to Love to See It, a podcast about what a man Grant Ellis is.
With a side of no drama llama.
The Bachelor is back, and so obviously all of our wishes are about to be granted. Granted. With a capital G and
Do you get it?
a hyphen. Yeah, no, there's already a lot of fun stuff, fun little bits with this season, little puns, animals, songs that are beloved from our youth. So before we get into it, a reminder about what we have going on over on Rich Text. We put out a podcast this past week with Sammy Sage, discussing how we are trying to stay sane and stay focused during Trump 2.0. And we're continuing our coverage of The Traitors later this week, which I'm very excited to catch up on.
Me too. Oh my gosh. Thank you, Alan Cumming, for saving my life during this time. But it is time to talk about our other savior, who is, of course, Grant Ellis, our new Bachelor.
Yeah, the man in my life. I like to call the Bachelor the man in my life.
The most important man in my life. Like, forget about our partners. They're just there.
Yeah.
Okay.
Or in my case, my two male children.
Well,
Grant is
number one. We have our priorities in the right place. And before we get into the recap, we wanted to discuss a bit about kind of the historic nature of this season. Grant is, of course, only our second Black Bachelor ever, and the first one who was actually chosen from a previous season rather than just plucked from being Tyler Cameron's best friend and thrown onto a national stage with little to no experience being on reality television.
Yeah, this is the traditional route to being the Bachelor. Grant came out of it. And so season 29, it feels
late,
historic and wild and late that this is when it's happening. But here we are. And I think the timing is interesting. I was thinking about this as I was watching the premiere, that it's actually been 4 years, a presidential cycle, since Matt James was the Bachelor. He became the Bachelor when Trump was leaving office, and the backlash against Trump and like left-wing activism was really in full swing. Like, this was the moment of BLM, Black Lives Matter, which is sort of what also contributed to a big pressure campaign toward ABC to cast a Black Bachelor.
I mean, I literally have a strong memory of watching Matt's premiere when I was in Woodstock with Adam, and then we drove back the next morning and I got on my laptop to start working and the insurrection happened. So that is the moment that Matt James became the Bachelor. And now we are in another moment, obviously, of cultural and political and international upheaval. And we've got Grant.
Yeah. I mean, and it's kind of moving in the opposite direction, right? Trump is re-entering office, and he's more like empowered politically than he was before.
And socially.
Yes. Like, even when he took office last time, he, there was an embarrassment factor, like a social stigma, and influencers definitely cater to this, towards supporting Trump and supporting the MAGA movement. And now MAGA is like ascendant. We're seeing influencers openly tipping their hand, entertainers performing at the inauguration without embarrassment. MAGA is like truly ascendant right now. And what we do have is a backlash to what conservatives call woke, or DEI, by which they mean, people of color getting to do
jobs,
anything that a white person might prefer to do instead, or, women being employed instead of having 15 babies. So that kind of cultural set of values is what is driving a lot of cultural change right now. And so it's interesting that at this moment we're having our second Black Bachelor.
Yeah, I will be curious to see if this moment impacts the way anything is presented, and definitely will be interested to see how it potentially impacts who might be chosen to be the next Bachelorette. We will definitely be tracking this. I mean, reality TV I think one of the reasons we find it so fascinating is because it is this constantly evolving and reactive medium. It really is able to react fairly quickly to the moment in a way that scripted television, for example, can't. So yeah, I think there will be a lot to look at and think about and talk about this season.
Yeah. And, with The Bachelor itself, I think it often is sort of a trailing indicator. Like it follows the culture more than it necessarily drives the culture. And so I would not be surprised if we start going forward to see it tacking back right
Yeah.
even more than it has in the past few years, and try to sort of slowly follow the cultural values that are being like really proudly espoused by a lot of influential people in public, which more and more is like really conservative um MAGA values.
Oh, so much
And
to look forward to. We're just feeling
yeah.
great.
Yeah, like this, I'm like, is this a trailing indicator? Like, are they going to start being like, now all the bachelors are going to be super white and Christian and Republican again, like a return to that? Like, they had started to slightly move away from that, and now the
Well,
culture is moving in the other direction.
I guess
I
we'll
also thought it
see.
was interesting that like Grant himself is Christian, as we know it's in his Instagram bio. But the show hasn't emphasized that a lot about him and how they're packaging him this episode.
Right. Whereas for Matt James, it was very central.
Right. So are they going to start turning back that direction now that the winds are changing in mass culture?
And of course, the people who actually make The Bachelor are not necessarily indicative of that ascendant culture. So we could
True.
also see a break
Yeah.
between The Bachelor and mass culture. It'll just, I don't know, it'll be interesting to see.
Yeah. It's always difficult because they want that audience that is general, that cuts across different demographics and that is as big as they can get it to be. And historically, they've more obviously prioritized having that white conservative Christian audience, but it was hard for them to have a big enough audience prioritizing that. Are they going to turn back to that, or is that no longer something that looks like a viable strategy for them? And yeah, the people who make the show have changed over time. Um, they've had more experience about how to produce a black lead, more feedback about it. They have diversified their production team. So we'll see how this season goes. But there's another historic element to this season.
Yes, there
For the first time ever, it appears at the time of our taping that The Bachelor Grant Ellis dropped a single the night before the premiere
called Party Girls.
Party Girl.
Or is it Party Girl or Party Girls?
Let me double check that. Party Girls.
There's more than one party girl in this party that
be.
Grant is hosting, Claire.
Did he think that was sort of in good keeping with the show because there are so many girls who want to party with the team being him, Grant Ellis, former professional basketball player? I think we actually need to play a clip of this to convey what's going on in this.
We really
track.
do. Wow. I mean, it's catchy.
I actually really want to know what they all want because I couldn't quite make out that part of
They
the
all
song.
want the same thing, Claire. I don't know what's unclear
they want
about that.
Something. Party girls want the same thing. What is he doing?
I don't know. This is a wild move given the show's very tense history with men specifically who come on the show trying to promote their music careers. You know, we had a lot of men with guitars that would just show up, start strumming, and you knew wrong reasons.
And I think that is the main reason that men generally want to come on the show. Like, why would you go on The
Well,
Bachelor? To
or they're
promote your country
entrepreneurs and they would
album.
like to promote
Or
their
to,
fitness business or their water business
yeah.
or their,
Country album, water
yeah,
business, fitness app, bar in Nashville,
exactly. These
winery.
are the types of
Um,
men.
so this is obviously immediately for a lot of viewers. I saw so many responses that were like, now I feel like he's just there to get famous. Like, this is a big wrong reasons red flag. Why would you frame your season this way at this exact moment when people are learning from the show? Like, the image they're putting forward of him is quite at odds with this.
Look, people contain multitudes, Claire. And I think what Grant is showing us that maybe he's there for love, but he's also there to get famous. And the truth about everyone who goes on TV is that they are there to get famous, because why else would
Yeah.
you go on television?
I mean, absolutely. I think that like Grant's branding is interesting to me because the cracks are showing immediately, and we'll discuss this, but they're going so hard on like, he's a family man. He really wants kids. He's so ready to have kids and a family and just that person to come home to and give them a flower and a kiss.
That's what all party girls want. They want a man who's a father and a provider.
Right. Well, and then Grant, his everything he says on the show is like, she works with kids. I bet she'd be a great mother. And that's what really matters to me. And then he drops this single about how he's like partying with girls who just want the same thing, which, if I know anything about girls, they just want to have fun.
I thought I heard a live and a love in the things that they wanted. So, is that really incompatible?
No, that's great. I like I believe someone can release a song like this and also be really ready to get married, but it's a interesting branding move.
It really is. It's also just hilarious because the show, like, I would assume that ABC was aware of this if it is going out in public. It would be wild if he had not made them aware of this, but he's not really posting it very much. It's not a grid post. The show hasn't promoted it, and we are taping early, so maybe that will have happened by the time this recap comes out. But as of now, it just feels confusing. Yeah. So don't hold us to any of this analysis.
I thought he hadn't posted it at all, and then apparently it was, he just deleted it.
He reposted someone else's story about it and then took it down. So we have a lot of questions. Hopefully we'll find out more. Claire, should we move on?
We should.
We've got to talk about the actual episode. We're like 15 minutes into this recap.
I know. I'm sorry. Okay, let's go. There is no cold open.
Were you so happy?
They're switching things up. I was happy, actually. I was like, let's move on to another approach, and we go right into an intro package for Grant that is honestly great.
Agree.
And the way that it's constructed and edited is sort of like a music video, which with the context of the song that he dropped doesn't feel quite as fun, but I guess he is into music videos, so there you go. So what we see is like this red brick wall, and we see Grant looking very dapper up against the wall. And the name of the show, The Bachelor. Salt and Peppa's What a Man starts playing, and we see Grant dancing in slow-mo in front of that red brick wall.
The minute Salt and Peppa started playing, I was like, yes, I'm in. I'm here for this season. Incredible song choice. 10 out of 10.
I think they're learning that they need to invest more in songs that actually affect people's emotions, because they use so much stock music that does nothing to really get people excited about the show.
And I like that they are learning to deploy that music in the moments that it matters. We don't need it for most of the middle episodes, but establishing the tone of the season with a song is super effective. I will never forget the Cat Stevens needle drop with Golden Bachelor. Joey's season had Billie Eilish. Like, that sticks with you. Grant has What a Man.
Yeah, and that like tells you how to the way you feel about that song. You're gonna transfer that right onto the lead.
Exactly.
And I love this song. So we cut to the classic footage of him that we usually see in these intro packages. He's getting his portraits taken with a rose and all that, classic. He's the Bachelor now stuff. But it's intercut with more shots of him kind of slow mo dancing, goofing around with a basketball, playing pickup.
Did you
Like,
remember that he plays basketball, Claire? I don't know if you're aware.
it's not something I think about very much day to day, but I think I'm going to remember it now. Um, yeah, I love how they kind of turn this whole intro into this sort of music video style sequence. And when Salt and Peppa are like, I want to have his babies, I was like, I think I do also. I'm so confused.
You're like, wow, I
this
so
happened
agree.
so fast. This happened incredibly fast. I'm like, I still barely know this guy, but all of a sudden I'm really into him because of this music and the editing of this clip.
I know. I was like, hot. Grant is hot. And then we meet his family and we learn that he is also comes from a very warm and sweet family. I loved everyone that we met. We meet his mom, Renee, his sister, Taylor, who I believe is a literal model.
She is.
Which is
yeah.
the vibe. His grandma, Corinne, incredible.
Also has amazing style. I love his grandma Corinne's outfit.
Me too.
And he gives her a rose and says she'll always be his first impression rose. And she's like, thank you, Grant. It's very sweet. The bone structure in this family
unparalleled. I'm
off the charts.
As a wide-cheeked person, I just will never know what it's like to walk through life with cheekbones that could cut glass.
I know. I'm almost like I wish I didn't know that existed.
It's too painful for us.
So separately, we meet his dad, Robert, and we learn that his parents divorced when he was in college after around 30 years of marriage. And his dad is actually in recovery after many years of addiction.
And that is something that he discussed during the last season with Jen.
Yeah. But this is our first time meeting his family. Like, we've heard a little bit about them, but we haven't met them. And his dad also seems really warm and loving. And yet at the same time, as we know, they've had this sort of difficult history. And Grant talks about how hard it was when he was young. His dad was struggling with his addiction. He wasn't always available. His mom was really focused on work. His parents fought a lot. And so he says he really funneled everything into basketball. Like, basketball is what's going to be my escape. It's going to help me solve my issues. It's going to help me help my family. Like, that's the path to redemption and success. And he says that he's used to dealing with things alone, but he wants to be able to communicate about emotions and have mutual support now.
And that's what The Bachelor is for.
Yeah. He's like, I decided I wanted to be vulnerable, and that's why I'm here at the vulnerability store. His dad tells him that he wants to be a better father that he knows that Grant wants to be a better father than Robert was. And he's like, and you will be.
Oh.
And this is when we get our first male tears sighting.
And we love those.
Oh, so good. Grant weeps a little bit, talking in his ITM about how he doesn't want to be lonely anymore. He says he can't wait to meet his wife, someone he can cook and dance and laugh with. When Grant talks about what he wants in a spouse, it feels like he's talking about like a montage that he's seen in a movie. He's like, there will be a flower given. We will dance together while we are cooking the salmon fillets, and then we'll kiss. It's like very gauzy and beautiful.
Yeah, it's like that scene in Sleepless in Seattle with Rosie O'Donnell and Meg Ryan. And she's like, you don't want to be in love. You want to be in love in a movie.
And everyone wants that. Sometimes I'll even say to Greg, like, I want the kind of marriage where we do things that I saw in a movie. And
who doesn't want that? Obviously, we're suckers for that. We talk about rom-coms and reality dating shows for a living. So really being in a setting like The Bachelor is perfect for Grant.
Yes. Grant then resolves that during the season, he's going to keep it classy, but still be Grant. He puts on a tux, looks amazing. I will say the menswear guy's in my ear a little bit, telling me that he needs a higher pant waist so that there's no shirt showing beneath his button. But he looks pretty good. I mean, it's Grant. So Of course he does.
And it's time for Jesse Palmer to welcome Grant to the Bachelor Mansion and ask what he's looking for. And Grant says he's looking for someone with a kind soul and someone he can just really be on the same wavelength with.
Yes. He admits that he is a little nervous night one. They always are. And to get the nerves out, he does his old pregame ritual, which is like a little dance
Ugh,
move.
I love it. I loved it.
Yeah. I was feeling pretty good about Grant at this point. I was like, I think this is the second male lead that I'm starting the season out really liking in a row.
Wow. And that's barely happened for us ever.
Yeah. I don't know if I've ever had a streak this long of two bachelors
No,
in a
I'm
row.
liking 2 bachelors in a row. It's like unheard of.
Yeah, let's keep this. Let's keep this.
I
Energy
know.
rolling.
Grant, don't fail us.
The first limo pulls up.
We hear the chatter in the limo, and I was just so struck by like the TikTok Gen Z language of it. We just hear the women being like, I'm dead. I'm dead. I'm dead. I'm so dead. I'm dead. It's like, it's perfect.
Like,
yes.
you meet a handsome man now, and you're like, I'm literally so dead to be meeting you right
I am
now.
literally deceased.
And first out hops Rose in the prime first exit spot. Rose, 29, from Chicago. She is in a flowy pale mint satin dress, and it's only fitting that she's first because she is a Rose. So now she is actually the first impression Rose and gets to make the first impression on Grant. And her line is, will you accept this Rose?
I mean,
She
having
does a
the
little
name
shimmy.
Rose is really a leg up. Like, your entrance is so clear.
Oh, yeah.
I actually can't believe we haven't had more Roses on this show.
Yeah, I don't think that the name was that popular with our generation as a first name. I think it was a very popular middle name.
Yeah, it is
I
my
know a lot of,
middle name.
and I
Yeah.
know a lot of people with Rose as a middle name, probably because a lot of women in our grandparents' generation were named Rose.
Yes.
And now it's coming back around. I think we're going to start seeing more Roses.
Yes, I was named
I know
after
several
my
baby Roses.
great grandmother. And yes, I also know several baby Roses. I mean, it's a great name.
Yeah.
Great name.
It is a great name. And I mean, it's a great opening line. Next out comes Latia. So now we know exactly how to pronounce her name. So sorry, Latia.
I'm so sorry, Latia. This was like the one pronunciation we did not consider. And
yeah, we didn't.
I'm glad we now know we stand corrected.
Yes.
She looks stunning. This dress. Yeah. Oh my God.
Champagne shimmer with like a neck scarf. She's gleaming like all over.
She has the perfect messy long waves, which Grant immediately clocks and is like, I love your hair.
And shoes. And I also love your shoes.
What a man.
What a man. He knows how to compliment a woman. And he knows about, he knows about shoes. Even I don't know enough about shoes to compliment them. She compliments his vulnerability, and she has her own thing to be vulnerable about, which is that she's really bad at basketball. Oh no.
That's so vulnerable.
Men hate it when women aren't as good at the thing that they're good at.
He's like, I can teach you. It's like, every man's greatest dream.
It's like, I was really looking for someone who was better at basketball than I am. And he's like, no, it's fine. I'll teach you. And she says, if you bring the skill, I'll bring the sparkle. And she produces a bedazzled basketball.
This is another really prime entrance, I think. Like, if you get this entrance, like, you get to give him a bedazzled basketball and do something cute without actually embarrassing yourself, they think you're going somewhere.
I mean, the first limo is always a good one to be in because they like to start with some heavy hitters before they do the quick hit intros later in the night. And we do get an intro package for Latia. She's petting a horse. She's walking through her family's ranch with them. She says she grew up with a big family. She was raised in the Mormon faith, and religion is a guiding light in her life. And she talks about her family's history, which is pretty sad. Her parents met and married in Hawaii, where she was born. And then her dad died in a car accident just 3 months later.
It's incredibly sad.
Yeah, she cries. She says she still feels his presence. and she wants a big family of her own. And she's, she loved being from a big family.
Claire, I think you and I were both really struck by this entrance because of the way that Mormonism was so front and center. It just doesn't feel like something that we have seen historically on the show. And I think both of us were wondering, is this the Real Housewives of Salt Lake City / Secret Lives of Mormon Wives effect?
Yeah, the Mormons are coming out as Mormon. They're like, we're here. We're going to talk about it. Like, remember when Jeff was on the show, Jeff with one F?
He was the winner of Emily Maynard's season. He came from a big Mormon family. It was never once mentioned. And I remember it was something that was kind of in the chatter online. People were like, it seems like he's from like a really kind of prominent Mormon family, but they never really discussed it. We used to see a lot of different religious, specifically Christian sects on the show, but they would sort of couch their discussions of those terms, at least that we saw, with conversations about faith. Like faith was essentially a stand-in for any sort of conservative Christian ideology.
Yeah. And there was a sort of presumed like mainline Protestant flavor, or evangelical Christian flavor to religion on the show. We didn't hear a lot about religions like Mormonism that historically have been seen as sort of like weird, different, culty. Like there was a stigma in a lot of the country to being Mormon. And we're at this interesting moment also where a lot of influencers are Mormon, and they've built up this huge amount of cultural capital and influence without talking too much about being Mormon. It's more about, home crafts or hair and makeup or style
or child rearing.
But then, it's sort of slowly over time, I think, is normalizing to a lot of Americans who wouldn't normally encounter a lot of people of LDS people, normalizing the idea of Mormonism. And then, of course, we have the Secret Lives of Mormon Wives and Real Housewives of Salt Lake City, which is sort of like these people are religious, but just like other people that, who are religious, sometimes they do things that they're not supposed to do, like wear really revealing clothes or drink alcohol or, throw tables at each other.
Yeah. And of course, Real Housewives is predominantly former Mormons.
But not all.
But no, Lisa Barlow. Lisa Barlow is still a member in good standing.
And there's some new Mormons as well, like Brittany.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, new Mormons, old
Brittany,
Mormons.
who has an on and off relationship with an Osmond.
Exactly. So, but because I think they are not really so closely observant, it does make them seem, or make the religion seem a little bit less like secretive and different to people who are not previously familiar with Mormonism. So I think it's getting really mainstreamed, and also I think having more explicit religious talk on the show might be coming back. It hasn't been such a big part of the last couple of seasons.
Well, I think when we've seen it the last few seasons, it's been specifically highlighting religious traditions that were historically not a part of the show's culture. And maybe they're seeing Mormonism as one of those. Another thing to keep an eye on. But yeah, it definitely feels significant. We then meet Janae, who throws big handfuls of chalk all over herself, and then they do it together. I don't know
why exactly. Is chalk? I don't think chalk is part of basketball.
Is it?
Like
am I like
right?
like a real sports idiot? Like the answer is yes. So maybe I'm really missing something.
I grew up watching and playing basketball enough that I would think I would know if chalk was a big part of it, but maybe I'm wrong. Maybe we missed the part where this was explained, but what we do see her say is that her first love was also basketball. Maybe they can be each other's last love. And I'm sorry to tell Janae that Grant is not interested in being beaten at one-on-one by a woman. So
he wants to teach a woman how to play basketball.
He wants to do a ghost with the free throw shot and stand behind them, guiding their arms. Parisa is next. She's wearing like a plunging sweetheart black gown with large crystals on the trim. And she's like, "Oh, you seem so wonderful and loving and amazing, and I'm here for you." And she seems to me, my overwhelming impression was that she seemed kind of nervous. Like she was doing a little bit of like baby voice, like, "Oh, okay, all right, I'll see you in there." Like she was kind of anxious to be on camera. But she thrives later in the episode.
Yes, she does. Next up is Carolina, who is a real early favorite for me. I am instantly obsessed with her. She opens by saying how handsome in Spanish. She is in this really pretty, like sheer nude colored gown with a floral starburst design in crystals. Just stunning, stunning, incredible energy. We also get an extended intro package for her, and she talks about the fact that she is from Puerto Rico. She lived in Puerto Rico until she was a teenager and then moved to the mainland US. And we see her slow dancing with her tiny dog in the backyard, and she's just goofy.
Yeah. She's like, "My friends would really describe me as authentic and silly." I think we have a little clip of Carolina.
I'm hoping to find someone who gets me. My latest decisions have been not so wise. My last boyfriend was a DJ. Like a moment of silence, because how dumb.
Perfect. Incredible.
I love the self-awareness.
Me too. It's really admirable.
That was a mistake.
As you know, look, often DJs are. I don't stay up late enough to have ever dated a DJ, but I respect it.
Relatable. How does she feel about dating someone who drops a single out of nowhere?
I guess we'll have to ask her if we ever have her on the pod.
So we see her back with Grant, and she's talking very quickly in Spanish as English closed captions roll across the screen, and Grant is like nodding and smiling, and she's saying, "Your face is telling me you're not understanding anything, so I'm going to tell you something crazy. We just met 5 minutes ago, and I'm going to be your future wife, and you would never understand what I'd be saying. You're a little confused, right?" And Grant recognizes this as a question, so he says C, which is the right answer. Conveniently.
And then Grant says to the camera, "I gotta invest in some Rosetta Stone." And, you know, Claire and I know Rosetta Stone is out here doing the rounds for sponsorships. Like, Grant.
Is he ready for brand deals? Is that what he's ready for? Does he already have a brand deal with Rosetta Stone?
Is he ready to start a podcast?
I mean,
so many men are at any moment.
I feel like you can drop a single or you can start a podcast, but you can't do both.
So true.
A Jeep Wrangler rolls up, beeping at Grant, and out hops Allie Joe in a royal blue glitter gown with a delivery box of heart-shaped pizza. She claims it's the best pizza in New Jersey. It is definitely from whatever slice joint was closest to the Bachelor mansion. And I hate when they do this because I can look at that pizza and tell you that it is not very good pizza. Like, I have
You're like,
eyes.
how dare you slander New Jersey's pizza scene like this?
Yeah, I eat New Jersey pizza once a week, if not more. And that is not the best pizza in New Jersey. That is from a Los Angeles slice joint. She does have that like take charge, peppy energy of someone who would be teaching your boxing class, which is fitting because she does teach boxing classes.
Yes, she's an instructor at Rumble, I believe.
Yeah. Next is Dina, and the camera lingers over her legs in a silver and gold beaded gown. Like it's doing like a up and down on her body. Romantic music plays.
Okay,
she's got
Dina,
blonde.
One to watch.
Yeah, no, she definitely got the romantic entrance. And she's got those like blonde Dyson Airwrap waves. She's got a look that, Emma, you pointed out was very Mar-a-Lago.
It's
And
just,
I agree.
It's giving Ramona Singer Goes to Mar-a-Lago to me.
Yeah. I agree. And I was like, why do I feel that way so strongly? Like, what is so different about her look than any other Bachelor contestant?
So I felt a little bit like that with Allie Joe's look too. I think it's a particular kind of embellishment. I think the MAGA aesthetic, at least that I have seen in all of the coverage of the inauguration balls, is like more is more.
Interesting.
Like there's not
And
one focal point. It's like the hair, the very like ornate beading, and it's all over. And the hair is like perfectly done, but has very clearly been, you know, altered in some way. Like it's clear to me that Dina has dyed her hair blonde.
yeah, I mean, she has the Fox News anchor hair.
Yeah.
And makeup. I think part of it is the makeup, which is very like immaculate and is not up with trends. It's like a very conservative makeup look. It's the very smooth hair that is in those air wrapped curls. And then the clothes, like I think it's not just more is more. It's that it's the uniformity. It's like if they're crystals, it's just a sparkle dress, but no patterns, not an interesting pattern. You're going to see like a solid color dress.
Right. Dina's is not solid color. But
right,
it is
but it's
stripes.
beaded.
Yeah, beaded stripes.
It's beaded all over. Yeah. So it's either like the sparkle or it's like a royal blue
Yes.
body hugging dress and like a conservative sort of.
It's like pornography, Claire. I know it when I see it.
Yeah. With her, I think the hair goes a long way. Anyway, in her intro package, we see her walking around Chicago. She says her parents lived in Romania until their 20s and came to Chicago and started popping out kids. She has 10 siblings.
Damn.
Her family is traditional, and
that's a loaded word for me.
especially with like 10 siblings. It clearly means a certain thing. And to have 10 kids, 11 kids in Chicago, you know,
seems tough.
Really, that seems hard.
Yeah,
that seems hard. She says that her family wouldn't expect any of them to do something like this show, but she's always done things her own way,
which is certainly something we've seen discussed from other like first generation kids on the show.
And the show is that sort of interesting combination of conservative and really kind of what's the word I want? I'm having such a brain fart right now.
Well, it's subversive in the sense that it is so public.
Right. Well, it's conservative and it's the opposite of conservative. It's a little bit more you're kissing on TV and like you're showing your body to everyone in the country in your bikini. Like, there are those elements that don't jive with a certain kind of, it's just like pageants, right? It's like there are certain parts of it that we wouldn't think of as being in keeping with conservative values, but of course it's an incredibly conservative institution that actually reinforces a lot of those values around how women should be and behave. And so when we do sometimes see these people come on who are like, I'm doing this incredibly rebellious thing that my family would never approve of, going on The Bachelor, which is in many ways extremely conservative. But it's presented in a way that is a little like trashier by that kind of viewpoint around what is traditional and correct. And she says she works in civil litigation defense, and people underestimate her because she's a woman, and she implies young and hot. And people don't think that a young, hot woman can be good at civil litigation defense.
I've seen Legally Blonde.
Yeah, we know. She tells him that she's always been told she has beautiful hands, and then she waggles her fingers at him and says she's a size 6. I love when people open with a compliment to themselves.
I mean, Grant, this works on Grant. Grant is like goo goo gaga eyed over Dina.
He's like, you do have beautiful hands. I'm into it. Absolutely. She's followed by our other attorney, Radhika, who comes out in a silver gown with side cutouts, and she's doing a little Bollywood dance, but she looks so nervous.
It's giving an awkward energy. And I think you correctly pointed out that most likely there's no music playing in real life, which just makes doing any dance awkward.
Yeah, I mean, we get the music piped in. They're definitely don't not having that music. Did she have any music? I don't
I
know.
hope so for her sake. But
She looks like she's trying to find a beat a little bit.
yeah.
She says that every day together would be as fun as a Bollywood dance. But she does not look like she's having as much fun as a Bollywood dance. And I get it. Alicia brought him a little Aladdin lamp, like the little oil lamp that the genie is in. And he identifies it as a genie in a bottle. That's not a bottle, Grant.
But he studied up on his Christina. He knows.
Yeah. I mean, close enough. And she jokes that if they rub it, her wish might be Grant.
They really took that one.
Yeah. That's actually a better pun than the original one. It's like your wish might be Grant. Like he is your wish.
I thought it was great. Also, Alicia, I cannot stop staring at her face. Like there is something
very
so
face.
striking about her, and her style is really great.
I hated her.
You
outfit,
hated it?
actually.
Oh my god! I thought that she pulled it off
passionately.
Oh well, I kind of hated the belt, but I loved the white little the neck scarf, and I thought her hair was perfectly styled. The makeup was perfect. She pulled it off. It was giving boho 2014. I know the belt was kind of a crime.
The belt ruined everything. I'm sorry.
I get
like,
it.
She looked so amazing, and then I saw the belt, and I was like, immediately no.
Well, to be honest, I didn't even notice that the belt was there at first. Like I was so like her face is so beautiful. I was just staring.
When I later noticed the belt, I went back to make note of how it ruined the whole outfit for me.
The belt is upsetting. It's giving the new Chloe era. That is drawing on the Chloe era from like 2010.
It made me think a lot of like when you would see like Ashley Teasdale or whoever on the
yes.
red
Oh my
carpet
god,
at, like, the Teen Choice Awards.
Yes, except thank
like,
God there's like no peplum paired with it or like tunic.
No, well that's the thing. It's like every other part of the outfit is so tasteful
beautiful
and elegant, and then it's the Ashley Teasdale belt.
Yeah.
Why?
Yeah. Okay, look, we have some notes. Maybe I just have a crush on her. Yeah. I don't know.
It was like I was reading Go Fug Yourself in college, and I was like in the comment section, like, that belt.
No, we needed the Coco Chanel rule of like, take one thing off. And the thing that should have been taken off is the belt.
And that belt should be taken away from Alicia,
and,
so
like,
she never
burned
wears it again.
In a fire. I don't know.
But she has that kind of look that like a movie star has, where they're so beautiful, but in a way where you're like, I guess technically maybe there's something about your face that isn't quite classically perfect,
and that's why it's so like interesting. That's why you want to stare at her.
Exactly. Otherwise you would just be like Hallmark beautiful. But it's very striking, and she seems very like soft-spoken and sweet and appealing. Also, Natalie, the PhD student, brought him a polished stone, and she says it's a worry stone and is supposed to soak up his stress. Natalie is here to treat Grant. They no longer have like a therapist behind the scenes. They just cast one every season to
do the work
pro bono. It's frankly, they don't have to pay her.
Really in keeping with the healthcare system. Someone's always getting exploited.
Yeah, and then he just has to decide whether to keep dating her so that he can keep getting free anti-anxiety treatments. Every week, he's like, do I send Natalie home or do I still need these breathing exercises? Beverly is next. She's wearing a Miss Dominican Republic sash, and then she turns it around so it says Mrs. Ellis, because she skipped the pageant to do this. Or that was what I gathered, that she was like, this was more important than this pageant that I almost competed in. I mean, and in a way, it's true, because The Bachelor is sort of like the biggest beauty pageant in the Western world.
That's true.
Like you skip this little local pageant, just a singular country or states pageant. You get to be on The Bachelor. That stage,
way bigger,
is almost unparalleled. Alex walks out of the darkness in a sparkly brown gown.
I was like, is that a self-portrait dress that I spy? I feel like it is. It's beautiful.
I think you need to pivot to doing one of those like shop the Bachelor blogs.
Yeah, I'll be able to identify like 1 out of every 20 gowns. People will rush to my Instagram. I'll be like, I think it was this. Did I look it up? No.
The blog will just be like, is there any self-portrait in this episode?
Yeah.
By Emma.
I think so. And then someone will look it up and be like, this is
No, it's actually
it's just
different.
a different brand.
She is leading a llama, and she is super perky. She tells him that she grew up in a small town in Canada, and they're known to be the nicest people in the world. So the llama, whose name is Linda, is a no-drama llama. This symbolizes that she is really nice.
Linda's a star.
Linda's an immediate
I
star.
really like both Alex and Linda. They're doing it for me.
Yeah, I thought Alex was fun to me because you get almost a sense of her personality through her cast bio headshot, which is so rare. And that's exactly kind of what she's.
Yeah, she just brings a
like.
great energy. It feels like she could put anyone at ease.
Yeah, except for Natalie. Natalie is very stressed out because she was once spat on by a llama.
That is stressful.
Why didn't Alex think about that? And then we get another romantic music entrance for Juliana. Juliana is beautiful. She's wearing a dark, sparkly gown with a plunging neck. And she brought something to really represent her Italian roots. A cannoli for them to share, a la The Lady and the Tramp.
Grant seems really into her from jump.
Yeah, he has a big reaction to her, and he very gentlemanly, warns her about the llama. Like he clearly is moved to protect her.
Yeah, he's like,
from the
so just so
beginning.
you know, there's a llama in there. Yet she's still shocked to discover that it is a real and alive llama.
Why is everyone so confused? Like this is actually a super common night one stunt, is to bring
An animal. Yeah, guys. Come on. Some of us are students of this show. I think some of them are surprised that the llama is allowed in the house, which fair enough. But this house has seen a lot.
They let all of the men come into the house for the Bachelorette. You think they won't let in one nice, polite llama named Linda? Get out of here. Next is Chloe, who is in flaming red. And I immediately just love her and her strawberry blonde hair. Is that coming back? I miss strawberry blonde. It's so pretty. Why did we stop doing strawberry blonde?
I don't know. That's such a good point. I feel like in elementary school, I was just constantly hearing about strawberry blondes.
Yeah, and it kind of went away.
Chloe's another one who just brings great energy.
Yeah, she seems super nice. She's from Kansas. She wore ruby slippers. If you are from Kansas and you come on this show, you got to talk about The Wizard of Oz.
I mean, it's a good moment for that.
It's the great rom-com of Kansas. And the love story is between Dorothy and Home.
Home,
I guess.
Yeah.
We would say.
Home.
So we learn a little bit about Chloe in an intro package. She talks about her career in modeling, which started in high school. We see her like on set, getting some shots taken. And she says when she moved to New York, she was told she could lose 30 pounds and be a straight size model, or just be a plus size model. And she's like, sure, yeah, I will do that. I will not lose 30 pounds. And that's that. And she's like, I love my life and I just want a partner.
She later bonds with Zoe, which I loved because I was like, yes, New York girlies stick together.
Models.
New York models. Such a good way.
Models.
Zoe's also a model.
Yeah.
I forgot.
Yeah. Maybe they know each other. Maybe they've been on in casting.
I'm just saying, I would hang out
together.
with Chloe if she wants to come on the pod. Open invite.
And this is something that is almost never represented. And like, to be clear, Chloe is like average size for American women. She's not someone that I would describe as fat necessarily, but like a plus size model is not typically someone who is, in plus sizes necessarily. They're just bigger than a size 0. But what we almost never see on this show is someone talking about not losing weight.
Yes. Oh my God. The number of stories that we have heard of like my formative trauma is that I used to be fat or chubby or whatever. And I have persevered and found my true self, which is a thin person.
Yeah, and now I'm ready to have
Right.
love
Now I'm
because I lost all
deserving.
that
Now
weight.
now I'm in a good
Yeah.
place. And yeah, I'm so glad that we got this. I also admit that I immediately started holding my breath, being like, are we going to see her go home night one? Because that has been the pattern with all the other, and by all the other I mean all like 2 plus size models that they have cast on this show. They've basically always gone home night one.
Yeah, which at that point seems like a production decision to me. Like my understanding is that typically the lead has a handful of people they really want to stay, and then production has a lot of input on who they
Yeah.
want to fill out the ranks. And so if you're bringing on the occasional plus size contestant, just like a scotch of body diversity, and then they always go home night one, it sometimes feels like they're trying to send a message like, see, no one wants them. And that really irritates me. So at least she, didn't
The bar's in hell.
get cut night one.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, this is like the smallest tiny little taste of representation.
I
for
hope
biodiversity, but
we get to see more of her, because I also just again
Yeah.
like her energy. Next up, we have Bailey, who is the most beautiful little pixie cut. She arrives in a red gown. She also has a little, not quite neck scarf, but it is like a band around the neck.
yeah, the low neckline, but then like a band or scarf like across the neck
Yeah.
is very popular.
I mean,
this
it's
season.
interesting because having recently shopped for wedding dresses, this is everywhere in bridal fashion. I think we've seen it a
Really?
lot on the red carpet. It's clearly,
Mhm.
it's making the waves.
I don't understand it, but I don't like the way I look with my neck covered. So
There
that's
is
just my-
something very chic about it to me.
It does evoke like a casual scarf, like it has.
Yeah, it
that
gives like an
effect.
Audrey Hepburn, like
Right.
old Hollywood romance sort of
Yeah.
association. But yeah, Bailey looks great. We see an intro package for her as well. She's wearing matching fluffy pink outfit with her like cute tiny dog. She's like taking selfies with her dog. She's got a slideshow of her Instagram. She is the social
Yeah,
media
we
manager.
See her Instagram. Yes. And she says, she's like, I do social media management. And it is very clear that she is talking about influencing because she describes this as sharing her life, sharing her outfits. That's how she connects with people. I'm like, you are not describing social media management. You're describing
managing your social media with your career
Right.
as an influencer.
Normally, when people say they work in social media management, they mean that they're managing someone else's social media.
This show just doesn't want to say influencer.
Which is funny because they're leading so hard with the fact that she's an influencer. Like, it's beyond obvious.
I know.
That
Also,
she's an
Claire and I
influencer.
realized that we have both seen her in like Hill House partner social posts.
Yeah, I was like, she looks vaguely familiar. And then I went back and realized I had seen so
Like,
many
she
posts
has
of her in, like, Hill House
personally
pajamas.
sold me clothing.
Yeah. Yeah. Now every time I see her, I'm like, thank you for convincing me to spend too much money on pajamas. And I wondered as her arc went on, but even just in her intro here, the package frames her so much as an influencer that she loves sharing her outfits. She has a strong personality and she's an acquired taste. They're really framing her as an influencer. She even asks Grant to take a photo and he's ready to take a selfie with her. And she's like, no, just of me, because my lifelong partner will know my angles. And I was like, are they setting her up for some kind of wrong reasons arc by leaning into this so much?
I don't know, because the rest of her personality as we see it presented in this episode seems just like so bubbly and warm and open. Like, she doesn't seem like someone who would have any trouble getting along with other people in the house. So I'll be interested to see how it develops.
I guess what I'm thinking of is not necessarily like a a super drama wrong reasons arc, but more as she's not being framed as a serious contender because her
Yeah.
priorities are in these more traditionally like seen as quite superficial arenas. Like, will her partner take a good photo of her?
I mean, I will say that this pretty much told me that like she'll probably make it somewhere in the middle. Like,
Yeah.
I think like she's a great narrator. She has a great energy. I don't think we're going to see Bailey in like the final 6.
Yeah, that was kind of my impression too. Next, Serafina comes out behind a giant cutout of Grant's face, which is brilliant because everyone loves to look at themselves and be reminded of themselves. And so the more that you can just look like your partner's face, like a giant face, the happier they're going to be. She promises to be his biggest cheerleader, but to never let it give him a big head. So we get a series of quick exits. Kylie brought salsa because she heard he likes to salsa. Ella very earnestly is like, I came here for you. Rebecca tells him she didn't think it was fair to him for him to look for his wife in a room she wasn't in.
So generous of her.
Yeah. Christina says her grandfather told her that if she takes care of things, they will last. And I'm like, is this the inspiration for her vintage inspired clothing line? We'll never know.
There are questions. She
this
goes
is the
home.
end of her arc. We basically never see her again. Nisi, the pediatrician, tells him that she clearly can commit to something for a very long time. Like medical school, I guess?
Yes, that was the implication.
Yeah. Kelsey has on one of our least favorite tropes, a basketball jersey with Mrs. Ellis on the back.
I hate it.
This is our second Mrs. Ellis of the batch.
I don't like it,
it's
guys.
Never gonna go away.
It's never.
Yeah.
I know. But we will continue beating this drum, but no one will listen to us.
Savannah carries out a precarious looking 2-tiered wedding cake with models of the two of them on top.
I mean, the doll is pretty effective. I was like, I see their faces in those cake
well, they
toppers.
have huge heads. Yeah, they're like bobbleheads. Bobblehead cake toppers.
Savannah is, of course, the wedding planner, so
yeah,
makes sense.
It's not effective in terms of getting Grant's attention.
No, she also does go home.
Yeah. This is when we start getting in the moments of the women who had more low-key entrances, giving very insecure-sounding sound bites about how confident they are about what they did. Like Dina, for example. Like, no, I feel good about what I did. No, it's fine. I know that some people are doing really over-the-top things, but I think I made a good impression. Also, that batch of quick exits is really just like the women who went home.
I mean,
with a couple exceptions. Yeah, they don't want us to get too invested. Vicky comes out in a pink convertible holding up one of those like nightclub letterboard signs that are always getting ex-Bachelorette contestants into trouble on Instagram. And it says, Viva Las Vicky, because that's her name. And that's where she's from. And we see the women like watching from the shrubbery as they do. And Dina is like, is she a bottle girl?
Ew, Dina,
like,
calm down.
Someone's got to be a bottle girl.
Yeah,
like,
what's wrong with being a
what's
bottle
wrong with
girl?
An honest night's work being a bottle girl.
Also, I actually thought it was a great entrance.
It was a great entrance.
It's so
She
cute.
seems
It's
fun.
memorable. It's not embarrassing. It signals like a fun fact about her and who she is. Dina's got to take it down a notch.
Yeah. Zoe arrives with a t-shirt gun and almost takes out a tree branch over Grant's head. That would be a way for the season to begin and end very quickly.
I thought this was brilliant. This was so funny to me. The t-shirt that's in the t-shirt gun has their faces on it. It's
Of course.
Of course. And she's like, we're going to make a great power couple. Every power couple needs their own merch.
This is the cultural moment we are in.
It really
if you're
is.
a couple, you need merch. You need couple merch. Otherwise, you're not a power couple.
Grant
you're just
is
a
obviously
lame, boring couple.
one of the guys who goes on the show and is like, I'm looking for my lady to build an empire with. Like, you know that he's said that before. So he like, I feel like he loves this.
Yeah. And also Zoe is like, I didn't believe this was possible. I think she's more beautiful than I thought she was. And I
Yeah.
already thought she was very beautiful before
agree.
the episode. She is incredibly stunning. She's wearing a sheer gown with green sequins. Like, I was like, my breath was taken away. So I'm sure that Grant is like, this is like
Yeah,
overwhelming.
Grant
since
is
he's like,
loving life.
their t-shirts, we're going to build an empire. She's the most beautiful woman I've ever seen. Like, I don't know. I don't know what to say.
Also, you know, we have a thing for our New York girls, so we are rooting for
Yeah.
Zoe.
I will say she was bringing a much more ruthless energy than I expected. Like, she was then like, we should kind of let the other women know I'm here by shooting the t-shirt gun over the house, like into like the back courtyard. It's like a shock and awe campaign. She's like raining Zoe and Grant missiles down
It was
upon
pretty
them.
funny. I loved seeing the way that the other women reacted, and I appreciated that most of them seemed to have a good sense of humor about it. They like open the t-shirt and they're like, who is this?
Chloe actually puts one on. I was like, I adore
obsessed.
you.
Absolutely obsessed. And this is how Chloe greets Zoe as she comes into the house. And they're like, Chloe,
Yeah.
Zoe, we're a perfect match.
But there's something about like every moment where Zoe is describing what she's doing or what she wants to do where I'm like, there's an edge to this. Like, she
Yeah.
did not come to play around.
no,
She
Zoe is
wants
here to stay.
Dominate. Yeah.
She knows how to play the game.
I'm a little scared of her. She's so intense. Once everyone has arrived and had the opportunity to take a selfie with Linda, Grant finally joins them. And the women are just foaming at the mouth for more Grant. There's a huge rate of women calling him my husband on the first night. Like, you can just tell they are psyched that it's Grant.
Who wouldn't be?
And who got the honor of a drink to hand to him as he walks in?
Dina.
Yeah. But Alicia steals her moment. She walks by to clink glasses with him. She's like, I'm not going to be left out of this moment just because I was not assigned the drink. And then we get a little speech from Grant about his intentions. I think we have a clip.
All right, so before I start, I want to make my intentions known. I want to be a husband, I want a wife, I want to be a father, I want to have a family, and I'm here for love, first and foremost, above all. I have a question that I want to propose to each and every one of you. What does love mean to you? To me, love is the little things, a flower when you walk in the door, a kiss, a hug, a conversation when you had a long day at work, and something that I really appreciate is a woman's strength.
Wow. We
Wow.
just learned so much.
That's
A flower, a kiss, a hug, a conversation.
beautiful. I don't know why this is what it made me think of, but do you remember when we watched May December?
Yes.
And they find that love note from the 7th grader back when, you know, he's being groomed by the
Yes, very dark,
The older
dark
predator.
context,
Yes.
but I see where you're
And
going.
and it's like, what is love to me? Love is like very basic concept. And that is what this is. It's like he did his little like 7th grade assignment on a poem about what
Flower,
love is.
a kiss, a conversation.
Yeah.
And they're all like,
And-
oh, Grant.
I mean, I'm like, you're not wrong. I guess love is a flower when you walk in the door, a hug, a kiss, a conversation. It's not those things. What does love mean to them? I hope that it's also a flower when they walk in the door, a hug, a kiss, and a conversation.
And also a woman's strength and intuition. Grant
and
respects
intuition
the
to
ladies.
know what she wants. Yeah. She has that intuition about what she wants. Do men not have that? Men don't know what they want.
No,
They're
this
like,
is
how
why
do I figure out what I want?
This is why we are always seeing the first impression rose recipient on The Bachelor just like disappear after a few weeks.
Yeah, they don't have that intuition to know what they
Yeah,
want.
whereas the women, it's like always their final one or like runner up.
Yeah. He toasts to his mom for signing him up for the show, and then they all share a toast. And Bailey immediately pops up and steals him for the first bit of time. And she asks if he likes her bob, and he's like, I love it. And she's like, great, because I got you one to match. And it doesn't like match because it's a pretty ill-fitting cheap wig that's just kind of jammed on his head, but they look very cute together.
It is funny.
They take a selfie. They're like, we're twinning. And in the moment, he's like, "This wig is so itchy. Haha, I'm having so much fun though." And I'm like, "You are not having fun. You hate this wig." But they share a little bit about their lives. She says she has a younger brother and a younger sister. She's from Atlanta and now splits her time between South Florida and Portugal.
Seems like a
How?
good life.
I know. I want to know more about this. I guess if you're an influencer, you can split your time between wherever you want.
It sounds like she's just constantly moving around.
Yeah. She's like, "I love to travel. I'm open to moving." And he's like, "Great."
He says, "I'm open to traveling."
Yeah. She finally lets him take the wig off and they take a selfie just as their normal selves. And again, yeah, I was like, this is now her second bit of time where the fact that she is a jet setting influencer is kind of the main thing we learn about her. And traditionally, that is not a good thing to be on the show. So we'll see how that plays out. And then we get an intro package for Parisa to show us her millennial beige home, her crystal collection, her cat Sunny. We learn that dating in Michigan, where she's from, is not going well, but she really needs a dad for Sunny and to break the stereotype of a crazy cat lady.
Parisa is way quirkier than I initially took her for, and I'm so into it.
I know, she really blossoms into a more interesting character starting with this. So she does the classic like tell don't show thing where she sits Grant down and is like, "I'm a very fun and playful person. That's just something you should know about me." And as evidence, something that I like to do with my friends is make PowerPoints. Is this where the culture is now, that being fun and playful is expressed through using work software to make pretend work presentations?
I do know people who have done like funny PowerPoint parties where like everyone comes to give a lecture on something that they want to talk about, and it's like goofy.
I don't know why this makes me depressed, because like people should do whatever they want, and if it's goofy, then I guess you're being goofy and having fun. But it's something about the way that everything is like work. It's like that we're doing PowerPoint, but in a fun, not work way. And now next, what are we going to do? Like spreadsheets in a fun, not work way? Like when do I get to just like relax and not look at my work software suite?
I personally associate PowerPoint with like computer class in elementary school and middle school.
Absolutely. She has a PowerPoint for him to show him. And she basically made a PowerPoint to say, "Sorry you got dumped, but I'm here for you, baby. And maybe next year, this will be us," which is when she starts breaking out slides powered by Midjourney AI.
Oh my God, I was dying.
It's like wedding and family photos of the two of them. And to be clear, these are projected onto a screen, and then you're seeing it on camera from not that close. But even at this distance, the details of the AI Grant and Parisa are haunting.
They really fall into the uncanny valley. You're like, what am I looking at? I'm disturbed.
This AI was trained on like the big eyes artists.
Yes.
That they're like giant unfocused eyes.
You're like, that's Grant, but not. I'm very frightened.
That's. And he says, "How did you make these pictures?" Like, Grant, it could not be more obvious that they were made through bad
come on.
generative
We
AI.
all have access to AI these days.
You're telling me that Grant has never used an AI generator to make a portrait of himself in the style of some sort of art? Come on. And it just made me think, like, remember when people used to bring original hand-drawn art? And now it's like, I put us into Midjourney and said wedding photos, and I made this for you.
Look, I'm actually, this is the one good use of AI.
Oh, it ended up being really funny.
I thought it was so funny. I was like, yes, you can use AI just for this.
Just to make disturbing big eyes
Yes.
fake photos of you and the lead. He compliments the presentation, but I will say his real eyes, his real human Grant eyes, look a little scared. Inside, the girls are discussing who will get the first kiss. And Alicia says, I don't kiss on the first date.
Which
and
obviously means she will.
And Dina points this out. She's like, the person who says that always ends up being the first to kiss him.
Dina knows.
With all of the women gathered together in this moment gossiping, I was suddenly overwhelmed by the sight of all their veneers. Like, the teeth are just so large and white, as far as
perfectly
you can see.
straight.
Perfectly straight. And then we get a little more from Alicia. She's getting a lot of narrator moments to talk about the house dynamic, I noticed. And she tells him that she was raised by a single mom who was an immigrant and worked as a cleaner to send her and her sister to school. And they watched her come from nothing to be successful. That's very inspiring to her. They seem very coupley and comfortable together immediately.
Yeah.
They're like holding hands, they're snuggling. And she's like, I just, what I really love is just sweatpants on the couch, sour candy, watching like a funny movie or like a rom-com. And he's like,
Alicia,
"Me too."
Alicia, are you trying to steal my life?
Yeah. Yeah, Emma. We made that a thing and no one else was into it.
I know, we
before.
are
Sour candy and
originals.
rom-com.
We are. I thought I was the only. I'm just like such a cool girl. I like
Yeah.
sit around in sweatpants with my sour candy watching rom-coms. No one else does that.
We're like that clean girl influencer who's like the other clean girl influencer
Stole my
Stole my
aesthetic.
vibe. Yeah, stole my aesthetic. We're like, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. A woman who likes to eat sour candy and watch rom-coms. Excuse me.
And then
you're
their
going to prison.
example of a rom-com is The Notebook. Guys, that is
Everyone knows what a rom-com
that is a tearjerker. That is a rom-drom.
It's a rom-com if you watch it the way I watched it with my high school friends. which was by laughing at all the sad parts.
Sure.
That's maturity. They do a brief reenactment of The Notebook together.
This is actually
And-
very cute. It felt like a very real moment to me.
It did feel like he had definitely seen The Notebook before.
Oh,
Like,
he was quoting
not-
it. This is a man who
Yeah.
is very familiar with The Notebook.
Yeah. And he pulls her in for a kiss, which the other women see, and they immediately freak out, even though they should have known this was coming. He kisses a good amount of women, I would say. Like, this is where it gets started, but then we see more. But what we see next is Grant with Juliana, one of the women who got more of like a romantic music exit. And I think we need to play a clip of what they are doing.
Once upon a time, there was a girl and a boy in a mansion. No, right?
Yeah.
Juliana immediately has my attention. She has some skills that I definitely don't have. Not to mention she's gorgeous. Okay, wow, you're killing it. She's a talented woman, and I love that. I'm impressed.
Okay.
I love that they timed him saying she's really just has so many skills. She's such a talented woman with her like completely flubbing the chord.
Yeah. I don't know how good she is or isn't at the keyboard because I know it can be hard to execute well in that setting, but she doesn't seem super good at playing the
Look, I
piano.
think that he thinks she's really beautiful.
Really beautiful. And
Also, is he just looking for someone to perhaps help him with his future musical endeavors?
I know I was really struck by the fact that one of the women that he seemed really into night one is also a musician. Power
Doesn't seem
couple.
professional, but you know.
And then when they break up the riff, he's like, so Beethoven, right? Like, that's his transition.
He's like,
And he's
I
like-
know one classical artist.
Yeah, this is so
Beethoven.
Beethoven right now. Anyway, who's your favorite artist? And she says Pop Smoke and Frank Sinatra.
She's eclectic.
Yeah. She's like, it's so weird, but like Pop Smoke and Frank Sinatra. And then we see her intro package. She's dancing, listening to music on headphones in her backyard, something people only do in Bachelor intro packages. She's from Boston. Her big Italian family is the center of her life. And she was in a long relationship where she was cheated on repeatedly, and her family was really there for her and supported her through it.
As we said, I think correctly predicted from the all of the cast bios. I think we're going to see a lot of these kind of stories.
Yeah. 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 She tells him that she's a very happy, bubbly person, and he asks if she's motivated by love, and she says yes. And he's like, okay, good. Like, perfect.
Now that we've gotten that out of the way, let's get married.
Who's gonna say no to that? She's on The Bachelor. Like, no, I'm not really motivated by love.
Frankly, don't give a fuck about it.
I'm looking to make a marriage that's more sort of like a strategic alliance.
An economic
like
partnership.
Yeah, consolidation of resources. Like, I'm not really motivated by love per se. But he's so glad to hear that. And he tells her that he is financially, emotionally, and physically stable, and he has his eyes on her. I was like, he's giving her his resume. He seems so interested in winning her over.
Also, what does it mean to be like physically stable?
Listen, no, some of us, are not as physically stable as we used to be, I guess he means that his knees don't hurt when he walks up the stairs.
Yeah, I guess.
Assume.
Well, just wait, Grant, till you get a little later into your 30s.
Yeah, he's like, I'm ready for love. I'm able-bodied. It's like, Grant, it would be okay if you were not. You could still have love.
Yeah, I mean, I truly don't even know what he is trying to imply with that. I think he was just like, emotionally, socially, financially. Yeah. I think he's just listing things, categories.
No,
he's
absolutely.
like, all of them are stable.
Afterward, butterflies are literally exploding out of her. I will be delusional until otherwise, but he is literally my husband, she says.
Not yet, Juliana. Not literally.
Then Carolina gets time with him by the fire, and she asks him to thank his mom for signing him up. She brings up that he seems very optimistic about the process, and he says, yes, but he's taking his time. And she's like, oh, so you don't want to, call me your wife right now? Okay. And they laugh, and he's like, what makes you happy? And she says spending time with her family, which is the only Bachelor approved real message. It's sort of like
nothing else could possibly make you happy.
It's the answer, if you're in an interview and they say, what's your biggest flaw? And
I work too hard.
I'm too much of a perfectionist and I work too hard. That's the answer that you give. And on The Bachelor, it's
family.
Any question is just like family. I love.
Yeah. What kind of marriage do you want?
I care about my family.
What do you like to do? Family. Who do you love the most? Family.
Family. What do you want to do with your life? Family. Her siblings are a lot older than her, and she's very close to her parents. She felt like an only child. And definitely implied here is that her parents are older parents, and that she is very aware that they might not be around for that long.
Yeah.
And it's emotional. She starts crying a little bit, and she says she wants her own family, so she has someone when they're gone.
Oh my God, that made me so sad. I wanted to hug her.
Yeah, I know. And Grant says that he understands, but he's realized that he'll pass on what he learns from his parents to his kids. And she's like, you mean our kids? And then she produces Grant a little bit. She's like, tell me something. Do you think your wife is in the mansion right now?
I love her.
Jesse Palmer is supposed to ask that question, Carolina.
They didn't even need Jesse. Jesse's like, wow, way to steal my thunder, Carolina.
Probably they didn't even include Jesse asking this in the edit because Carolina had already asked. He says, yes, I do. And she asks, how far in inches does he think his wife is? And he's like, oh, well, my wife might be pretty close.
Maybe right here.
He says he wants to kiss her in the moment, but he senses she's not ready, by which I think he means that she is crying. Because she doesn't seem in any other way more unready than the other women that we see him kiss.
Look, it's probably a good rule of thumb that when your potential girlfriend is weeping about the fact that her parents are going to die someday,
yeah,
it's not the moment,
I mean, that's what we learned from Harry and Cho.
It's so true.
You should not see crystal tears glittering on her eyelashes as you lean in for your first kiss. We see flashes of some time that he has with other women, Kelsey, Allie Jo, Kylie, Serafina, Janae, who does, like, she shoots hoops with him in the driveway, Dina. And we also see some of the women discussing how kind and welcoming everyone has been. And Allie Joe says, well, I was so nervous because you know how girls are.
Do you, Allie?
How are girls, Allie Joe?
Tell
But
me more
then-
about all of your scintillating thoughts about girls.
I'm like, oh, are we going to do this season? Like, women are just like bitches who hate each
Natural
other.
born enemies.
Natural. You know how girls are. Not me, but other girls are vicious. There can only be one girl, and it better be me. Unfortunately, then we see another limo approaching, and out comes another woman in heels and a long dress. And
Immediately,
I wrote,
like,
it's his sister, isn't it?
yeah, I was like, obviously this is his sister.
Yeah. Like, because it's just, who else would it be?
Right. It's his sister.
It's his sister. And the faceless woman walks into the house, and the women are immediately bridling. We have a clip of some of their reactions.
Is this a new person? Who's that?
Who's that?
Who is this girl? She's shredding her stuff and she looks good doing it. Is that a new girl? Wait, a new girl?
Hi.
Is that his ex-girlfriend?
Is it? Who is this person? Why are you here? She means business. She's here for a reason.
Oh, she's going down there. Oh no.
She walked in straight for Grant, like she's come for him.
Who's the new bitch?
Ooh.
Jesus.
Just the immediate, like, this is my new enemy energy. Didn't
Yeah.
love it.
I thought it was, interesting that the person we hear saying who's the new bitch is Juliana. So I think we've got an early front runner who could go sort of villain who can't handle the other women and his territorial route, or a more positive direction because Grant seems really into her. But like, ooh, that is a rough look.
Yeah, it's some intense energy, especially directed towards your potential sister-in-law.
Right. I mean, it turns out she's the sister-in-law, not great. But then also, even if she wasn't, it's just the 26th woman who is basically the same as all of you, but arriving half an hour
also
later.
true.
So calm down.
Also, this cast is already smaller.
It's a small cast. I was thinking there might actually be more women, but once I saw it was just one, I was like,
It's his sister.
his sister. The new woman interrupts Dina, who is with Grant, and he laughs in surprise. And Dina clearly doesn't want to get up, and she sort of turns to Grant like maybe he will like rebuff this woman. But he's like, okay, Dina, see you later, bye. She has to go. And the women all watch Grant through the shrubbery. He's talking to the woman. They're wondering feverishly why Grant and the woman are laughing so much. Would he be that happy to see an ex? Like, what is going on? Guys, think about who he might be happy to see.
Also,
who is...
they have the same face.
Yeah. And back inside, Grant sits all the women down and introduces his big sister, Taylor. They all applaud with relief.
There's
Upbeat
like a
guitar music
palpable
plays.
like sigh. Like everyone
Yeah.
unclenches.
And then they start playing that like upbeat Bachelor music that's like da na 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 na. It's all gonna be okay.
Everyone's so happy. She's just the sister, not trying to bone
She's
him.
just the sister. And Taylor has brought a presentation in the form of a stack of blown up baby and childhood photos of Grant and a little like script about his childhood.
I
that
was
she
like,
reads to them.
yes. Thank you for the representation of older sisters. We need this. We deserve this. Also,
Having an older sister seems so cool.
I think she could have gone a little harder on like the roast element here.
Yeah. I mean, maybe she had made certain promises. to
Yeah, like
him.
I won't brutally embarrass you on national television, which fair enough.
I mean, a lot of people find just showing off the baby pictures to be embarrassing enough, but they're pretty cute. Then she tells them that Grant hasn't been honest with them. Okay, she's about to blow up his spot, I guess. She's like, he's not here to get engaged.
Long pause.
He's here for way more than that. And the women are like, oh my God, thank God. I really thought she was about to be like, he's lying to you. Leave.
Imagine if they brought in the older sister to be like, this man is a scam artist. Run away.
Oh, this is like in the proposal when he's like, you know, I don't love you. I'm in love with you and I want forever. You know, it's like we all get the game here. Taylor sits down with like smaller groups of the women and answers some questions about Grant, his on and off 7-year relationship that he had in the past, his lack of organizational skills. She says that he needs a woman's touch. The fact that like often on this show, I remember this a lot with Michael and Danielle when they met on Paradise too, that it's like sometimes you feel like the men are just there to find someone to like put their shit together for them.
Mm-hmm.
They're just like, I literally can't learn how to organize anything, so I need a woman who will do that. And it's like, no, women have jobs now.
Yeah, you gotta do that yourself, bros.
Yeah, you gotta learn to organize. Get some bins at the Container Store. Latia tells Taylor that she loves how aware Grant is of his emotions and how his actions match his words. And Taylor gets like a good vibe from these women. She's like, I see a lot of green flags. It's going to be hard for him to choose from all these wonderful women. Does she know that one of them called her the new bitch 10 minutes ago?
I don't know if she knows about that until she's watching this episode, to be honest.
You know what they should have done, and this is a little evil, is sent her in to mingle with them.
Oh, yeah.
And not tip her hand.
I wanted to hear her, like, vicious assessments. Just, like, unfiltered thoughts.
Like, if she had to come hang out with them.
They used to do this, actually, a lot, where they would bring in the Bachelor's friends to just, like, hang out in the house and meet the women.
I don't even mean that. I mean, have her come in night one. And instead of going right to Grant, hang out with the women, not say like, oh,
well,
I'm
didn't
his sister,
they do that? They did that with someone's brother. Is it Charity's? Charity's brother.
I feel like they could have gotten some more information about who was going to immediately become hostile to a perceived threat. Because when you bring in a new woman after they think the cast is complete, as we saw, they all immediately become
missed opportunity, frankly.
So Latia tells Grant during their one-on-one time that, you know, he said he's ready for a family. So where's the car seat going in the Ferrari? Good question, Latia. And Grant says, well, I also have an Acura.
This man contains multitudes.
Multiple cars. He is financially stable. Latia tells him that her past relationships were lacking in his clear emotional communication, and she loves compromise as well because she likes to agree and be on the same page. And Grant has an incredible response to this because he is clearly just thinking about getting a kiss at this point, because his response is, you don't get told no a lot, do you? Because you're very beautiful. And then he kisses her.
Grant is just like sparkly, beautiful woman with the long wavy hair.
Because, like, you could see the response being like, absolutely. I think that compromise is really important.
He's like, no. We're on a mission here. We don't have that much
like,
time.
I'm sorry. Did it hurt
when you
fell from heaven?
At this point, Jesse Palmer arrives and tells the women that the first impression rose he's holding will also award the first one-on-one date of the season to the winner. And these women know that this is a twist. This is not normal. I personally was left wondering, is this even a good twist? Like, I guess it at least gives the first impression rose winner some assurance that they will, like, get FaceTime with Grant and also some screen time and not just be, like, completely forgotten. On the other hand, getting the first one-on-one and getting the first impression rose are generally not usually the best indicators of being, like, the final pick.
I think it's gonna, like, jigger some of the usual tracks of drama. So maybe they just want to try something a little different, because normally what they can do with the first impression rose is it puts a target on your back, but then they start to get anxious because they're not getting the one-on-one date, and like, has he forgotten about them? And then the first date is someone else who gets the target on their back early. But that's going to now be concentrated in one person, but we're going to take out the element of her waiting for that one-on-one time. So maybe they're thinking that it creates a little more drama as they hope to get that first impression rose night one, and she is going to have a bigger target on her back. Like, maybe they are thinking that might give a different like path forward if someone has such a strong early start that other people will. And then of course the person who gets the first date sometimes does start to get in their head because they see other people catching up and they're used to having a more exclusive relationship. So I think that they're kind of setting this person up for some big psychological pitfalls by doubling up. Maybe that's the calculation, but we'll see. Alex confides in Linda the llama, who tells her to just be herself when she talks to Grant. Animals are so great at giving advice because they always give you the exact advice that you will want to give yourself.
It's so convenient.
Alex and Grant talk, and he's like, I love your energy. You can talk, I can listen. And she's like, well, I'm a speech therapist, and ironically, I feel that I need speech therapy myself because I talk really fast, which is true. And Grant says, well, but I understand you. And then they accidentally speak over each other several times before she manages to say that she loves how calming he is and how grounding he is, because she's like, I always said I can't date someone just like me. If I dated someone exactly like me, I'd be in Morocco on a camel with $5. And Grant is like, why
what?
Morocco on a camel? Why there? And it's like, well, that's the point, is that it's so random. That's the point she's making. But she came with an activity, flashcards, to teach him some French phrases, because of course she's French. She's Canadian, and so she speaks French like Jesse Palmer. And we have a clip of how this lesson ends.
I've never spoken.
Let's
French.
do it. So we're gonna start with like easy ones, okay? This one I need you to remember. So, accepterais-tu?
Accepterais-tu?
There you go.
Damn.
There you go.
Accepterais-tu?
Cette rose.
Rose. Okay.
There you go. That was beautiful. And then, je suis fatiguée.
Je suis fatigué.
Est-ce que tu veux
Est-ce que tu veux
terminer
terminer
cette leçon
cette leçon
avec un bec?
avec un bec?
So, Grant, usually I bill my clients, but like for you, I'll like do an exception if this is how you want to do it, or I can bill you. Like, it's up to you.
I will enjoy.
Was it good? Was it a good lesson?
So basically, she turns the card around to show him that it meant, would you like to end this lesson with a kiss?
And they
And
make
that-
out passionately.
and then they
Obviously,
make out,
he
yeah.
would like to end this lesson with a kiss.
I mean,
Who wouldn't?
does he want to be billed? Like, it's like, sure, I'll make out. And he's left thinking that she'd be a great mother, which comes up a lot.
You know, when you like make out with a man, that I think we all know that indicates that you have the skills to be a mother.
Well, she works with children, I think, is the...
No, I know.
Whenever it's someone who works with children, he's like, she's going to be a great mom, which is so cool.
You know, sometimes those who can't do teach, Grant. Just kidding. I think anyone that wishes to be a good mom can be a good mom.
I think personally, I think a lot of kinds of people with different jobs can be good moms.
That's the thing.
Exactly.
I'm not sure it's a clear indicator, but like whatevs.
One thing I did note is at this point in the night, we see that Savannah has become the anxious, she's not getting time girl, like the night one girl that the producers drive insane. That's Savannah.
And then she
this
does
year.
go home.
Yeah. Zoe sits with Grant and tells him that she was a nerd growing up. She studied engineering at Duke. And while this is happening, it's intercut with us seeing Savannah like gathering up her wedding cake, and she's like, this is going to make me stand out. If I have
Poor
this cake, it's going to
Savannah.
be our special moment. And then right as she arrives, she sees him making out with Zoe.
Rough.
Womp womp. But more strangely, after the commercial break that happens at this point, Savannah and the cake are nowhere to be seen.
They were like,
They're
you
just
got your chance, Savannah. I'm sorry. It's a one and done situation.
But it's also like, well, wait, what happened? Did she turn around and leave? Was there an awkward, like, can I get my time now moment?
They were like, we only have, an hour and like 23 minutes of actual screen time here. No time for that storyline to resolve itself. She's going home anyway.
It's like, sorry, you've been blocked by a model who's also an engineer making out with the lead. Better luck next season. So instead, we see him with Natalie, and Natalie is telling him that she's getting a doctorate in psychology and works in a hospital with kids.
So I think we all know, good mom.
We all know what's coming here. She's going to try to bill him for her services, and then he will be like, she's going to be a great mom. Literally the exact same thing that happens with Alex.
And it does. That is literally what happens.
That is what happens. They're twinning. He's like, is it hard for you mentally? And she's like, yes, but like, I love it. She does this anti-anxiety exercise, basically like a breathing exercise that she tries to bill him for. And then we see Rose, who has quite an activity set up.
Just some
boxes of
sexy clay.
Sexy clay. I don't know if this was fully considered in terms of how it would play out, because what she has is some clay so that they can create their manifestation for what they want this experience to be. And she's like, it's almost like a ghost moment. But then they're both blindfolded, like both blindfolded. So it's not even like one of them is guiding the other one.
The thing about Ghost is that like the ghost is guiding her hands.
Right. No, I think the thing about Ghost is that they're using clay. That's kind of the romantic thing about Ghost. Romantically molding clay with their hands. I will say it was more romantic than I expected, in the sense that she is blindfolded, squeezing and rolling and stretching out a long, thin tube of clay. That it was hard for me to be mature about this moment.
Romantic is an interesting word to use for that, Claire.
It's sort of romantic in the sense that you would say, like,
this feels intimate in a way.
Right. Like
Sure.
maybe the company that makes this product is called like Romantic Nights or something, but it's sex toys. Like, you see what I'm saying?
I got it.
They decide to make rings. So they're both blind, like shaping rings. And she has a strip of clay to make a ring in her hands that is just a very specific shape and size. I don't know.
She makes
and she's
a
really
large ring.
Yeah. I don't know. If I were watching that back, I would have been like, I wish I had chosen something else to mold. And they have a nice little conversation, and he's like, I like you a lot. Like, I know that you need more back from people in relationships, and I will always give that consistency back to you. And he slides his clay ring onto her finger. His is more finger ring sized, I would say. They're working on completely different scales. And he takes off his blindfold so they can make out. And then he sees her ring and he's like, this is an ankle monitor. Once it's joined up, it does look more like an ankle monitor. So then Grant walks in right as Ella is telling the women, obviously we all want the first impression rose, but I'm having a lot of mixed emotions. And then he comes in and she stops talking. And I was like, wait,
Finish the
not
sentence.
into Grant? Like, what do you mean?
What's going
mixed
on?
Emotions?
I mean, this is basically the only time we see Ella speak the whole episode. So maybe more from her next episode. Grant grabs the first impression rose and walks right off to a woman he describes as, quote, so funny, so quirky, so sweet, and she's smart. Everything that she is embodies what I look for in a woman. And it's Alex.
It's Alex. She is really classic first date material, I think. She seems really wholesome.
Yeah.
Their dynamic is sweet. It's not too, like, torrid, but it's good.
She puts
Like-
him at ease.
Yeah.
Like it's not going to be an anxious date. They're going to have a good time. I think this was a good choice.
Yeah. They kiss, and then it's time for the rose ceremony, and the non-Alex women are all sweating. I mean, they look immaculate, but they are stressed
Yeah,
inside.
you're like, they are stressed. They do not have pores that sweat could come out of, but if they did.
It's kind of wild. Like, I remember in earlier seasons, the hair would wilt, the makeup would run. They would be showing that they had been in their hair and makeup for 12 hours. And now that's such top tier glam, nothing has budged.
I mean, I need them to give me some tips for my wedding, frankly.
Yeah.
How do they do
I
it?
know. How do you do it? Grant tells them that this is hard for him. This journey will take a lot of emotion and feelings, and he'll have to let some people down. Just some of them. He's trying to find his person, so, you know. And the roses go to Latia, Rose, Zoe, Ella, Allie Joe, Natalie, Juliana, Vicky, Carolina, Beverly, Bailey, Dina, Chloe, Rebecca, Serafina, Alicia, and Parisa, who I'm so glad she was left until last because we got to see her incredible in the moments about how much she wants a rose. I think we have a clip.
I'm freaking out because my name's not being called.
Chloe?
Not getting the rose just makes you doubt everything.
Rebecca?
I'm spiraling. I'm just staring at him like I thought we had a good time together. I thought you liked my PowerPoint. I'm never doing a PowerPoint ever again.
I thought you liked my PowerPoint.
I'm never doing a PowerPoint again. Perfect. This is incredible promo for PowerPoints.
Why
the real
don't
stars
men love my PowerPoints?
So, of course, this means that a handful of women are going home. Savannah, Janae, Radhika, Christina, Niecy, Kylie. The women seem, pretty sad and weepy as they leave. As always, they're probably like exhausted and annoyed. It just sucks to go home night one. But Kylie gives herself a nice pep talk. She's like, my younger self would be so proud. And I'm sad for me, but I'm like excited for Grant because all of the women in there are really special. That's very sweet, Kylie.
Yeah. I also love the thought of her little girl self being like, you're on The Bachelor? Night one? Yes. We
Go,
did it.
girl. We did it. We made it.
My little girl self would have been so horrified if I were on The Bachelor. Kylie and I come from
Different kind of girls.
cultures. So Grant and the remaining women all cheers to falling in love. And meanwhile, Jessie bonds with Linda the llama, leading her back down the glistening drive. She seems like a really good listener.
She really does.
In the preview, oh my God, this preview.
Oh my goodness. There's a lot going on in this promo. There's a handful of women that we definitely see a lot of. Juliana, Latia, Alex, Dina, Carolina. Also a lot of tears. Allie Joe seems to be fighting with Zoe, who seems to be unapologetically getting her time. Grant denies that he said something after Carolina confronts him. Which,
yeah, she's
what?
he's like, no, that's a lie. I'd never said that. I don't think I've ever seen this happen before.
Same. I'm dying to know what this is about. Rose is crying, talking about how someone backstabbed her.
You did me dirty.
Someone says someone else's dress was too short. The vibe
and then someone's
is
like, are you the bitch who said my dress was too short? I was like, this is so Housewives.
These women came ready to fight. That is what I have learned. Grant does a lot of staring into the distance, pre-Mesnick B-roll, no tears, but he's getting there. We also learned that he has a tattoo of a lone wolf because he is a lone wolf. This seems to be a recurring theme of the season. But he doesn't want to be a lone wolf anymore because he's ready to put that mentality behind him.
He's like the hero of a romance novel. He's like, I'm a lone wolf, or I was.
Until I met
now.
you.
You and this other woman.
You and you, because right up until the last moment in the finale, he is torn between two women. He has a ring and he doesn't know who he's giving it to. Very
Wouldn't
rough.
you just love to be the woman who's like, he picked out this ring just for me or my friend?
And that other girl. Jesse is getting really stressed because he's like, both limos are on the way. Who do I send out first so you can reject them? Wow. Just a lot going on.
Brutal.
It's going to be a pretty wild season. And at the very end of the episode, we see a little dedication to Grant's grandmother, who apparently passed away in November. And then I started crying.
Yeah, I mean, that's around when they filmed. So the
Yeah.
fact that she was on the show is kind of amazing. And it seems like they were.
I know.
had
I'm
a
glad,
very close
Grant,
relationship.
thank you for sharing your grandma with all of us. She seems
Yeah.
awesome.
That's so sad that she has passed, but glad we got to meet her. And now it's time for Love to See It, Hate to See It. Should we start with Hate to See It?
Let's start with hate to see it. Get that bad stuff out of the way. We hate to see what I would have considered vintage, but now I guess is current again. Really like Republican style and energy coming back to the fore of this show. As we said earlier, to me, Allie Jo and Dina really both look like they've visited Mar-a-Lago.
Yeah, and like even politics aside, I just don't really like that look.
Yeah, it's also just
my
not an aesthetic I love.
Yeah. And like there's only so much that we know about the politics of the women on the show, although we do know a little bit, but the look is inherently conservative and I don't like it. I also really hated to see the immediate shaping of a women be catty theme, like the comments about women and how they're usually not nice or welcoming to other women. The mob response to Taylor before they knew she was his sister. Who's the new bitch? Like,
Don't love it.
don't
Also,
love it.
seems to be something that we're going to see continuing given what we saw in the promo. Also,
Yeah.
kind of hated to see just like the overemphasis on women being evaluated for who seems like a good mom, especially since a lot of this evaluation is based on working in like a caretaking for children field.
Yeah, the way that people talk about like women being good moms, because that's such a like heavily freighted social expectation on women, tends to turn around these sort of like stereotypes and external markers like, oh, well, she already works in childcare, she's a nurse, or she's very soft spoken or playful, like,
Or she took care of me.
Right,
She mommed me, an adult man.
and I'm gonna be fine when she's doing that with our child instead of to me. Yeah, like it ends up becoming a narrative about like which women have those traditionally feminine and nurturing qualities that we expect women to show because it's their role to have those qualities so that they can be a good wife and a good mom. And I would like to think that we have progressed past that toward an understanding that good parents can have many different professions and many different qualities. And not every mom needs to be a pediatric nurse.
So true, Claire.
But it was interesting that jumped out so much. Just these little glimpses of maybe a slightly more conservative bent to the season. Also, on that note, hate to see all of the misses his last name.
We always hate to see it.
Always.
But now for the good stuff. What do we love to see? We love to see and hear Salt and Peppa. What a Man is a 10 out of 10 musical choice, Bachelor. Good job.
Obsessed. Incredible opening sequence. Also love to see Grant's family. Finally, I wish we'd met them last season, but they're beautiful and sweet. And it's clearly like hard won because they had such tough years. So the fact that they really came back from that to have what seems like such a good dynamic and like good relationships in the family now is wonderful, and it made me cry like immediately.
Also, love to see that Grant has some genuine chemistry with like a good handful of women right off the bat. Certainly like Juliana, Carolina, Alicia, Alex, Zoe, Rose. I think it's going to be a really interesting season.
Yeah. Grant complimenting all the dresses and shoes I love to see, and the hair. He's like, everything that men normally don't know to compliment, I'm prepared to compliment those things. Make women feel seen through recognizing their less noticeable fashion choices.
So true.
I love that.
We also love to see the no drama llama. Linda is a star, and please continue putting animals on The Bachelor. It's delightful.
We also love to see the sweet roast toast, more toast from his older sister Taylor. Older sisters are honestly so important. And
They are. They make the world go round.
Yeah. And I think it's always nice to have that opportunity to like see a little bit more from someone close to The Bachelor, especially when we don't know them that well. So this was wonderful.
And now it's time for our seasonal rating. This season, we will be doing a drama rating out of 10 yes drama llamas.
Yeah, I'm sorry. It seems like drama is going to be one of the major like axes of this season. It's been
Yes.
so heavily revolving around the drama already. What do you think, Emma?
I think that they started us off on the lower end of the scale because they know what's coming. You know, we got little moments with Taylor, for example, and we got a lot of excitement. But I'm going to give this like a 3.
Yeah, I think this is a 3. We didn't even really get a fight over time.
So
The
true.
most we had was Savannah just stumbling on the kiss.
They're
So the
giving us
main
a
thing was
reprieve.
Taylor. Yeah, but it's coming. Like, it's being seeded. I think 3 is the right score. I'm terrified that we will actually get a 10 drama episode this season. I don't know if I'm built for that.
I know it's going to be very traumatic for us. Bear with us. And on that note, that is it for this episode of Love to See It with Emma and Claire.
Love to See It is a presentation of Odyssey. The show is produced by us, Claire Fallon, and Emma Gray. This episode was edited by Hannah Dickinson. Our theme music is by Tamar Aviv, and our art is by Aaron Nestor.
If you like our show, remember to follow us, rate us 5 stars, leave a review, and of course, spread the word to all of your friends about Love to See It.
If you want to get in touch, you can email us at claireandemmapod@gmail.com.
You can also find us on TikTok at Love to See It Pod and on Instagram at Claire and Emma Pod. You can also find our newsletter Rich Text on Substack at claireandemma.substack.com. I'm also on Blue Sky at Emma Gray and on Instagram at Emma Lady Rose.
And I'm at Claire E. Fallon. Special thanks to the team at Odyssey: Eric Donnelly, Aaron Constantino, Matt Casey, Kate Rose, Moira Curran, Melissa Wester, Carly Snyder, and Hillary Schupp.
We'll be back next week to keep following Grant's journey.